Hello friends, welcome to JavaScript Masterclass, and the topic of today's lecture is Loops and More Part 2. So in the previous part we have learned about the while loop, the do while loop, and how their coding works, what is their syntax. So now it's time for the third loop, that is the for loop. Okay, so again we will start with the syntax for, and within parentheses there is begin, semicolon, condition, semicolon, step, and the end of the parenthesis, then the curly braces start. This is a loop body where we will write the code, and again the parenthesis ends here. So what does this syntax tells you? So this is the begin statement. So if you have written the code in while, or you have seen it, then at this step before the while begins, we initialize a variable I. Let I equals to 0 or I equals to 1. From that we start the while, and then I plus plus is what we're doing. So that I, the initialization of I, is known as the begin step, and which is written here in for, the begin step, where we basically initialize the variable which will which is known as the counter variable, because it counts. I equals to 1, I plus plus, then it becomes I equals to 2, then I becomes I equals to 3, and so on. That the counter variable is defined here in the begin thing, and then the semicolon, and then the condition part, which is the same in while and do while loop, the boolean expression which evaluates to be true or a non-zero number for this loop to run. Okay, very important. Then this again semicolon, and then the step. This step is how we are going to increment the counter variable that we have defined in begin. For example, I plus plus will increment it by 1. I is equals to I plus 2 will increment it by 2. I is equals to I into I will make it the square of I. So this is how it works, right? The step function, how you're going to increment the counter variable. Then the loop body, where you write the code for the for loop to work for, and then we end it with the curly braces. Okay. So it's a complex, but most commonly used. If you're going to write one or two code using for, then you are going to love it, and you're going to use it more and more than while and do while. Okay. Let's see an example. For example, here for let I equals to 0. Here I is defined here, and is been initialized with a value of 0. So this I is known as the counter variable. Then we have the condition where I is less than 3. Then we increment with I plus plus. So this is how the for the loops works. This under parenthesis, the begin, semicolon, condition, semicolon, and then the step. And then if it is a one line code, there is no need of curly braces, just like in while. Okay. This declaration of I is equals to 0 inside the parenthesis of for is known as inline variable declaration. And there is one important point to note, that whenever a variable is defined inside the for or any loop, its value is valid inside that particular loop only. Outside the loop it won't work, and it will show an error. So this is a local variable, not a global variable. Okay. Very important to understand. So we will now see a code example where your doubts will get a bit more clear. Okay, so let's go. Now we will see the coding part of the for loop. Again, here I will use the same 1 to 10 sum for loop. So let's start. So it's coding for underscore loop.html is going to be my file name. If I press enter, and it will start. It starts the for loop, right? So what I will do is I will copy the HTML from the do while and paste it in the for loop. Okay. This is an example of for loop. So I will change the comment section and let it know that it is an example of for loop. Okay. So sum of first 10 integers or numbers, you can say. So again, to store the number we need a variable sum. So I will declare it and initialize it. Now here I don't have to define the counter separately. You can do it, there's a provision for that also, but in for we declare it inside the for only. So for the keyword to show that the for loop is starting, and inside the parenthesis first we will declare the counter variable, that is ledi equals to 0. This is going to be our counter variable. Semicolon, then the condition as we have known, I is less than 11 or I is less than equals to 10. I is less than 11 or I is less than equals to 10 is going to our condition. So that is we are going to write. Okay, so I is less than 11, then the semicolon to stop it. This is the condition, it works. What should be the step is it should increment one by one so that we can get the sum. So I plus plus is going to our step function. Okay, so this is the complete for loop. So see, in one line everything is done, so there is no extra headache to remember when to increment, when to decrement. Everything happens in the same line. Now as usual, sum is equals to sum plus I. This is what our basic code is. Now here I don't have to increment I because it's already been taken care of. This is very easy. Alert, the sum is the sum with the plus to plus it. Okay, this is the sum. This is a basic for loop example. See, it's quite complex, and in just 2 and 3 lines it's been over. This is my file for underscore loop.html, where I will going to double click it. When I double click it, it will come out, and yeah, the sum is 55. Again, this the same output. So as I've told you, the 3 loops works the same but with different characteristics each one have. One is easy to declare, other is easy to write. So depends upon the coder, the developer, and how much practice he has with using the following loop. It depends on which one to use. So but I prefer for loop because it's quite complex and everything is written in one line, so I don't have to remember when to do what. Okay, so this is for loop, and in the next section we will go to the break and continue. Our next topic is breaking the loop. This is not a loop, this is just a technique where we will come out of the loop. So if you have seen the past 3 examples using while, do while and for loops, you would have known that a loop exists or ends when its condition becomes false. Whenever the condition becomes false, it will come out of the loop. But there may be situation where we want to force exit of the loop, right? If any condition meets, then we have to come out of the loop. If any system fails, for example, if you write a code for any aircraft, any airplane, then you must be writing something like, if all the parameters fail, if everything fails, then there should be a safe landing of aircraft, right? So this is like a break. If everything fails, then break out of the flying path and just safe land somewhere. Okay, this is like that only. So this is breaking the loop. To force exit, we use break. Let's see an example. Here you can see the for loop is running. For leti equals to 0, I is less than 5, I plus plus. So I have the begin, the condition, and the step function here. And inside the curly braces, what I have written is, if I is equals to 3, if the value of I is 3, then it will break. What does mean by this break? Break will just come out of this loop and start executing the loop, all the statements after this curly braces. Okay. So the remaining lines will not run, and after curly braces it will start running. Or for other cases, it will show an alert I. So for 0, alert 0, 1, alert 1, 2, alert 2, and whenever 3 is there, it will come out and the remaining lines will start running. So one thing to note, that for I equals to 4, nothing has been defined. It should give an alert, but it won't because I is already out of the loop. Okay, so break will not run the remaining iteration. It will just stop there. Now we will see the continue, and then we'll move to the coding part of this break and continue. Okay, so this is continuing the loop. It is the continue is used. The keyword is used is continue. It is a lighter version of break. it doesn't stop the whole loop. So as we've seen in the break, it stopped the whole loop, but in continue it stops the current iteration and then start the loop from the next iteration, but it don't stop the loop. So in the previous example, if you've seen, the output alert 4 will also come out. So 0, 1, 2, it will skip the 3 and then 4, right? Okay. Instead, it stops the current iteration, forces the loops to start a new one, as I have told you. So it is very important. So to understand it, it's very easy concept and very important also. So now let's check out some coding examples of break and continue. So now I will show you how the break and continue works. So first, the break. The file is loop_break.html. So what I have to do is I will first copy the while loop code and paste it here. Okay, so creating a while loop to count using user input. So what I will do here is I will run a infinite while loop. What is an infinite while loop? Infinite while loop is a loop that whose condition is always true, so it is not stopping and it is running infinitely. Okay, and under each iteration I will ask the user to give an input. So it will be done using prompt, and once I get the input, I will add it to sum. So each input will be a number, so I will show the sum of all the numbers they have entered and using an alert. Okay, so you must be thinking how you will come out of the loop. So I will come out of the loop using break, and whenever the input is not a number, I will use the break to come out of the loop. Okay, so let's see. While true is the condition, because it is always true. So for infinite loop I need a condition which is always true. So while true is an infinite loop. Now to get the input and store it somewhere, I have to use the variable num. So let num is equals to plus prompt, enter a number and with no initial value. Okay, then if number, now you have to go with using the if it is not a number, then what will happen, then it will break out of the loop. Okay, if not number means it is not a number, then it will break out of the loop. Fine, otherwise we will do the sum. This is basic example to show the working of break. Okay, then when the loop ends we will show an alert. Okay, so I saved it, and now let's go and run the code. My file is loop_break, so I will double click on it, and the first time it's asking for a number, I will write suppose 1, okay, 2, okay, 3, okay, 4, okay, and 5. So I have added 5 numbers, and I will just press enter or okay. Now yes, now because it was not a number, so it will show the sum as 15. So it has come out of the loop. Just pressing the enter, not any number, it will come out of the loop. So this is an example of break, very basic one. Try to pause it and understand each line of code. Anything you don't, please write in the comment section. Okay, so now our next code will be about continue, where I'm going to show you how continue works. So loop_continue.html is my file name, and the working of this code will be to show you to print only the even numbers. Okay, now I'm using for loop for this code. I can use any loop, but I'm using for loop to make you understand it better. So as I've told you, I will print the even numbers here and not the odd numbers from 1 to 10. Okay, so this is my for For lat I equals to 0, I is less than 10, I plus plus, this is my sum, but I will remove it. Yes. For odd numbers loop, okay, odd numbers loop will not show it, it will just skip it. So for I lat for lat I equals to 0, I is less than equals to 10, I plus plus. So from I equals to 1 I'm going to start it. Okay, so for now, how will you understand whether the number is even or not? We will divide it with 2, and if there is a remainder, then it's an odd number, otherwise it's an even number. How will you check the remainder? Using the modulus operator. Okay, so I modulus 2 is not equals to 0. It means if I doesn't leave 0 remainder, or it is a non-zero remainder, then it is an odd number, and I will continue it. It means that I will not run the remaining lines of this iteration, and the iteration will start again. For all other numbers, it is going to show an alert. So the output should be 2, 4, 6, 8 and 10. So let's check it out. Loop underscore continue. Yes, the space is 2. If I click OK, it's 4. If I click OK, 6. Again, if I click OK, it's 8. Again, it shows 10. Okay. So this is an example of continue. So this is done with we are done with our loop section, and if you have liked it, then please like it, subscribe it and share it with your friends, because coding is fun, and I will make it sure that I bring each bit of code to you in any possible manner. Okay, thank you.